Life is risky from the moment you're born. If you think trying is risky, just wait until they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, see what the cost is for not investing. Everything is risky. Getting married, having kids, starting a business, investing your money, it's all risky. Let me tell you just how risky life really is. You're not getting out alive. I once asked my mentor, what's the secret to success? He looked me straight in the eye and said, you've got to be willing to take a chance because it's all risky. And then he said something that changed my life. The minute you back away from risk, you sign up for a life of mediocrity. That hit me hard. See, most people spend their lives trying to avoid risk, thinking they're playing it safe. But what they don't realize is that playing it safe is the riskiest game of all. It guarantees that you'll never grow, never stretch, never experience the rewards that come from stepping out in faith. Millionaires don't fear risk. They embrace it. They manage it. They use it to get ahead. So let me ask you, are you running from risk? Or are you ready to take the kind of risks that lead to success? I used to think that playing it safe was the smart thing to do. I figured if I just stayed in my comfort zone, avoided risks, and stuck to what I knew, I'd be fine. But then I realized something. Avoiding risk doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. I remember when I was 25 years old, broke and struggling. I had a job, but my wages barely covered my expenses. I had dreams of success, but I was too afraid to take the necessary risks to get there. Then I met a man who would become my mentor, and he told me something that changed my perspective forever. He said, the poor avoid risk, the rich manage it. That hit me hard. I had been playing life on defense, trying not to lose, while the successful people I admired were playing offense, taking calculated risks that led to big rewards. I saw it everywhere. People who stayed in jobs they hated because they were afraid of uncertainty. People who never started a business because they feared failure. People who never invested because they feared losing money. But what they didn't realize was that avoiding risk was the very thing keeping them poor. The wealthy don't run from risk. They study it, they prepare for it, and they learn how to manage it. They know that every investment carries a risk, but doing nothing carries a guarantee of failure. A millionaire understands that risk is a part of the game, but they also know how to minimize it through knowledge, strategy, and action. They educate themselves, they build skills, they surround themselves with mentors, and they take smart, calculated steps forward. I saw this lesson play out in my own life when I decided to start my own business. I had never done it before. I had no guarantees that it would work, but I knew that staying where I was, broke, frustrated, and stuck, was a bigger risk than trying and failing. So I took the chance. I started part-time, learned the business, and applied what I was taught. And let me tell you, the risk paid off. Because once I learned how to manage risk instead of fear it, I never looked back. Here's the truth. Everything is risky, but the difference between the rich and the poor is how they handle that risk. One group avoids it and stays broke. The other group embraces it, learns from it, and turns it into an opportunity for growth. The question is, which group will you be in? Fear can either protect you or it can paralyze you. And for most people, it does the latter. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making the wrong decision. And worst of all, fear of risk. I know this because I lived it. At 25, I was broke, working hard but going nowhere. I wanted more out of life, but every time I thought about taking a risk, starting something new, making an investment, trying a different path, I hesitated. I told myself I wasn't ready, that I didn't have enough knowledge, enough money, enough connections. But what I really didn't have was the courage to step forward. And because of that, I stayed exactly where I was, struggling, frustrated, and stuck. Then I met a man who became my mentor, and he said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. Fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. He told me, you're afraid of losing money, then you'll never have any. You're afraid of looking foolish, then you'll never learn. You're afraid of taking a risk, then you've already lost. That was the moment I realized that fear wasn't protecting me, it was robbing me. Every time I let fear dictate my choices, I was shutting the door on opportunity. And that's what so many people do. They reject an opportunity before they even try. They say, what if it doesn't work? Instead of asking, what if it does? They stay in a job they hate because they fear the uncertainty of starting a business. They avoid investing because they fear losing money, not realizing that inflation is quietly stealing their wealth every single day. Successful people think differently. They know that opportunity comes disguised as risk, and if you let fear stop you, you'll never get to the reward. When I finally took a chance and started my own business, I was terrified. I didn't know if it would work, but I knew one thing. Staying where I was, working a job that barely paid the bills, was a guaranteed way to stay broke. So I made the leap. And let me tell you, that single decision changed my entire life. You can either be ruled by fear, or you can be driven by possibility. One will keep you broke. The other will make you rich. The choice is yours. Some people hear the word risk and immediately think of danger, loss, and failure. They picture a reckless gambler throwing everything on the table, hoping for a lucky break. But that's not how millionaires think. The rich don't gamble blindly. They take calculated risks. I learned this lesson early in my journey. When I was broke at 25, I wanted success, but I was afraid to take chances. I thought all risk was bad. Then my mentor sat me down and said, risk isn't the enemy, ignorance is. He explained that there's a difference between being reckless and being strategic. He told me, a wise person studies, prepares, and then takes the leap. A foolish person jumps without looking. That's the key: calculated risk. Let's take investing as an example. A reckless person throws money into stocks, real estate, or business ventures without understanding them. They hear a hot tip and act on impulse, hoping to strike gold. Then, when they lose, they blame the system and say, see, investing is too risky. But the wealthy approach it differently. They study the market, learn from experts, and make informed decisions. They don't bet their entire fortune on a single move. Instead, they diversify, manage risk, and think long-term. Or think about starting a business. Some people quit their jobs overnight, pour their entire savings into a business they know nothing about, and then wonder why it fails. That's not smart risk. That's reckless gambling. Successful entrepreneurs do it differently. They start small, test ideas, build experience, and scale wisely. They don't just hope for success, they plan for it. I remember when I first started my own business. My mentor didn't tell me to quit my job and dive in head first. No, he said, start part-time, build your skills, learn the ropes, let your business grow before you go full-time. That was calculated risk. And because I followed that approach, I didn't just survive. Most people stay broke because they fear risk. And those who do take risks often do it the wrong way. But millionaires, they embrace risk intelligently. They know that the biggest risk in life isn't trying and failing. It's never trying at all. So the question is, are you taking the right kind of risks? Most people want wealth, but they don't want risk. They dream of financial freedom, but they're not willing to step outside their comfort zone to get it. They want guarantees, safety, and security. But let me tell you something. There's no such thing as wealth without risk. It doesn't exist. I learned this early on when I was broke at 25. I was working hard, putting in the hours, earning wages, but I was stuck. Then my mentor sat me down and said, if you keep playing it safe, you'll always live paycheck to paycheck. If you want to change your life, you must take a risk. And he was right. Look at anyone who has built wealth. Entrepreneurs, investors, business owners, they all took a risk. They stepped into the unknown. They made decisions without guarantees. They knew that playing it safe only leads to an average life. Now, I'm not saying you should take blind risks, I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow and throw your life savings into something you don't understand. It's not risk, that's recklessness. But I am telling you that wealth requires stepping into uncertainty. Think about it. Starting a business is risky. Investing is risky. Learning new skills is risky. But so is staying where you are. So is depending on one paycheck. So is never taking a chance. If you avoid risk, you don't avoid failure. You guarantee it. Because the world moves forward, opportunities come and go, and if you're too afraid to take action, you'll watch life pass you by. I remember when I first got into business, my mentor told me start part-time, learn as you go, build it up. It was still a risk, but it was a smart one. And because I took that step, I went from earning wages to earning profits, from just getting by to creating a fortune. Now here's the real question. What's riskier, trying and possibly failing, or never trying and staying the same? Because if you never take a risk, you'll never know what you're capable of. No risk, no reward. It's that simple. The greatest risk in life is not taking any risk at all. Many people get stuck in a cycle of fear and self-doubt, always looking for the perfect time, the safe opportunity, or the guaranteed outcome. But let me tell you something. There is no such thing as a perfect time or a guaranteed outcome. The only guarantee in life is that if you don't take a chance on yourself, you'll never get anywhere. I'll never forget when I started my journey. I was young, unsure, and frankly scared. I had a lot of doubts. I didn't have all the answers, and the road ahead seemed uncertain. But here's what I realized. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never take action. The only thing that's certain about taking a chance on yourself is that it will change you. It'll make you better, stronger, and more resilient. You'll learn, grow, and yes, you'll fail along the way, but that's part of the process. The greatest success stories in the world are filled with people who took a chance on themselves. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They didn't wait for all the conditions to be right. They took the risk, stepped into the unknown, and trusted that their efforts would lead them somewhere better. When you take a chance on yourself, you're not just taking a risk, you're investing in your potential. You're betting on your own ability to learn, adapt, and create opportunities. That's the kind of risk that pays off. So stop waiting. Take that chance, because the biggest risk of all is never trying. Everything in life carries risk. The moment you step outside your door, there's risk. The moment you get into your car, there's risk. The moment you start a business, there's risk. But let me tell you the biggest risk of all: doing nothing. Some people say, I don't want to invest, it's too risky. But have you considered the risk of not investing? The risk of keeping all your money in a bank account earning almost nothing? The risk of never letting your money work for you? The risk of reaching retirement age and realizing you don't have enough? I had to learn this lesson myself. When I was 25, I was broke, struggling to pay my bills. And my mentor sat me down and said, Jim, if you don't start investing in something, your skills, a business, real estate, you'll be working for wages your entire life. That hit me hard. I didn't want to be 60 years old, still grinding just to pay the bills. I wanted to create something that would work for me even when I wasn't working. Now, does investing carry risk? Of course. But not investing carries a bigger one. Every wealthy person knows this. They understand that their money should be an employee, working 24/7, growing, multiplying. That's how fortunes are built. Some people are so afraid of losing money that they never take a chance. They play it safe, keep everything in savings, and then wonder why they never get ahead. But let me ask you, how do you expect to grow if you never plant a seed? I remember meeting a man who had been saving his entire life. He told me he was afraid of losing money, so he never invested. Decades later, inflation had eaten away at his savings, and he had nothing to show for it. He thought he was avoiding risk, but he was actually taking the biggest one of all. If you want to change your life, you must learn to take smart risks. Invest in yourself. Invest in your knowledge. Invest in assets that grow, because if you don't, you'll be left behind. So yes, every investment carries a risk, but the greatest risk? Wasting your potential. There's a difference between smart risk and foolish risk, and understanding that difference can be the key to your financial success. A lot of people confuse the two, thinking that all risk is bad, but let me tell you, without risk, there's no reward. But not all risks are created equal. Some are calculated, some are reckless. And the secret to success is knowing the difference. Early in my life, I made some foolish risks. I remember when I was starting out, I tried to get involved in every get-rich-quick scheme that came my way. I thought I could make a quick fortune by taking risks with no real plan. I had no strategy, no knowledge, no mentorship, and I learned the hard way that these kinds of risks don't pay off. They only leave you with lessons that are hard to learn and even harder to stomach. But over time, I started to learn about smart risk. I realized that taking calculated risks means stepping into opportunities that, though they carry some uncertainty, have a strong potential for growth. It's about taking action, but it's also about doing your homework. Smart risk is about investing in something you believe in, something with a track record or evidence that it could yield a return. It's about preparing for success, not just hoping for it. For example, I didn't start my first business blindly. I didn't just jump in without thinking. I got advice from successful mentors. I learned the fundamentals, I calculated the potential risks, and I carefully managed them. I started small, built my knowledge, and then gradually expanded as I felt more confident in the process. The difference between smart risk and foolish risk is like the difference between a businessman and a gambler. A businessman invests with a plan, with knowledge, and with the understanding that some things will take time. A gambler is just hoping for the best, making decisions based on emotions, and acting without a strategy. Here's the key. When you take smart risks, you're not just crossing your fingers hoping things will work out. You're making a conscious decision to grow. When you take foolish risks, you're relying on luck and chances. That's where many people go wrong. They fail to realize that real wealth comes from calculated decisions, from investing in things that have the potential to grow over time, not from making random bets. So, don't fear risk, just be smart about it. Invest in things that have a real chance of paying off, and always make sure you have a strategy in place.